When I am Kim with Abundant Life Tarot, we are continuing with video number 2 in the Disappearance of Kierra Coles. This is also night number 2, disclaimer. I end up having to do a pause and revisit it tonight, so that's what we are doing. So let's get into it. So Spirit, what are the energies surrounding? Why did Kierra's case grow cold? This is pertaining to the investigation. Okay, Ace of Cups. Ace of Cups. Why did her investigation grow cold? Any additional insights from this deck, from the case evidence? Telling cards, and if not, then I'll pull from my oracles. Why? Friends. Why did her case grow cold? Submerge. Okay, so we're speaking tonight specifically about the investigation surrounding Kierra Coles' disappearance. Okay, and also I wanted to mention that in last night's video that I did, the swamp card came up. The swamp card came up, and I thought that was interesting for a couple of reasons. First of all, for my folks who live in the Chicago area or live near that area, is there a body of water that feels kind of swampy there? I'm not sure, but if there is, there could potentially be some clues over there, okay, nearby to where she lived. Also, like across state lines, I'm picking up that swamp, like actual proper swamp, whether it's Florida or Louisiana or somewhere like that, where there could be evidence hidden there. A swamp started to really haunt me in my dreams last night. You guys, last night was crazy. My husband brought home, this is an aside and I apologize, but I have to say it. My husband brought home a stray puppy. I lost it. Knocked out, like my hip hit my reading table, knocked over the candles, spilled candle wax in flames all over myself, burnt myself. It was not pretty. Okay, so it was an interesting night. And then I ended up having dreams, wild dreams. And of course, I'm dreaming about the last thing that I was really focused on, and this came up. So the swamp card is interesting to me. Now, let's talk about this question here. Energy surrounding, why did her case grow cold? Let's zoom in and dig into this for a minute. Ace of Cups, friends, and submerge. This is interesting to me. There is like a sense of camaraderie, people feeling the need to protect someone, to submerge information, to submerge the full nature of what was surrounding the dynamics of the relationship between Kierra, perhaps her lover, Josh. People also submerging the fact and supporting one another in submerging the fact that the investigation was a poor one. It never really got off the ground, even though this is a case that warranted a lot of attention, warranted a lot of focus, a lot of, capturing a lot of attention from many people across the country. It didn't. And it was because there were people who had friends in high and low places, whether they were investigators, as well as people who were tied to her disappearance. They could be interlinked, interlocked, but nevertheless, there was a submerging of information, a submerging of covering up the fact that there was an inadequate response, an initial response. What I find in disappearance situations, let me zoom out, as I've started to do these type of readings, is time is of the essence. Full transparency is of the essence. Hitting the ground running. I know this from my prior career that I used to do where I did civil type of investigations. As time wears on, Witnesses start to disappear. Their memories start to fade. And once you get a hold of these witnesses, evidence is destroyed or, it erodes over time. So I sense that in the days immediately following the investigation was the key time to access friends of hers, friends of Josh, friends closely related to the situation. And as time went on, things became submerged, okay? And also with the investigators involved. As time went on, their lack of follow through, their lack of follow up, they have folks who want to protect them. They too were protected. All right, let's move on to question number 2. What are the energies surrounding, is this a cover-up? Was there a cover-up surrounding the investigation of Kierra Coles? Wow, so the 8 of Wands comes up kind of in a halfway position, mostly upright when it jumped. Beach. Okay, anything else, Spirit, about this investigation? About Kierra, was there a cover-up? Black hair. I'm going to pull from this deck. I'm using the Light Seers Tarot, the Trace Evidence Telling cards, and then my own personal oracle, the one with the Earth Oracle. Swamp came up from my deck. So in video 1, the swamp card came up in the telling cards, this deck. Now it's coming up here again. To me, I'm just going to speak plain speak. There is a sense of cover up. The 8 of Wands being in an upright position, affirmative, lots of information coming out, lots of information coming forward that was ignored, that was overlooked, beached, if you will. Have you heard of the term beached whale? That's what I'm picking up here. There was clues surrounding who this person was directly involved in her disappearance. With this black hair card, there was clues early on, weeks in to the investigation, because Wands represents the timing of weeks for me. 8 weeks in, there was clues that could have helped to illuminate what was going on with the situation. Instead, it was submerged. People could perhaps be overworked, a large caseload in terms of the investigators. And as a result, they needed to cover up their inability to manage their workload. I'm going to call it like I see it with this. It is what it is. This could pertain to, with the black hair color, a main investigator, but it also could speak to the person who really had a hand at her disappearance. But yeah, to me, the 8 of Wands in an upright position speaks to the fact that there was a cover up. Now, am I saying that there was some big conspiracy theory, like conspiracy in this happening to her? No. Is there a conspiracy in the sense of covering up inadequacies in the investigation? Yes. Is there a conspiracy in covering up connections that maybe some investigators, some conflicts of interest may have been happening? Yes. So, and so that is what's coming up for me with regards to those cards. Next question. What are the clues on where could Kierra Coles be? Where could she be? 2 of Pentacles. Okay, where could Kierra Coles be? I'm gonna reshuffle because I want a real clean shuffle. Clean shuffle. Where could Kierra Coles be? We got the 2 of Pentacles. Oh my gosh, why can't I shuffle tonight? Well, I'm going to go with these. These are some interesting cards. We've got Black Magic. Black Magic. We got Lake. Okay. Fire, evidence. Someone was juggling for a while, for 2 years at least, on how to dispose of information and how to dispose of things surrounding Kierra's disappearance. The Pentacles represents the season of fall and the timing of years for me as a reader. So, she went missing in October 2nd, 2018. And not only was her disappearance at the hands of someone, it was also at the hands of some form of black magic. Someone who's familiar with trying to work with dark energies, dark magic to try to win their way in a situation. Okay. This is a 78 card deck. This trace evidence telling cards. So when I say that a card has a lot of cards in its deck, that's telling you that, wow, out of 78 cards, the black magic card, Lake and Fire, comes up. Immediately following the disappearance, and I apologize for the background noises. My husband has his friend who comes over every evening after he gets off work and vents. My apologies, you guys. I love it, but I have to apologize. It echoes. Black magic was a factor into this. Someone had been trying to use black magic for a time and a while in regards to the situation pertaining to Kierra. And when that didn't work, they were like, I have to up the ante because she's not going away. I am now juggling, a lot. And again, it looks, so when you're looking at who potential suspects are, is someone who was really put upon by the person who disappeared, who was really totally 100% inconvenienced by this person. Whoever that person is someone who also, prior to her disappearance, employed black magic to try to rid her. And when that did not work, they then said, okay, fine, I'm going to get rid of her and I'm going to do it with the lake. I'm going to submerge evidence. I'm going to submerge her. I am going to drown her. I'm going to do something to get rid of her. And as years went by, because 2 years, 2 of Pentacles represents the timing of 2 years for me, in due time, evidence was also burned. Okay. All right. Moving on to the next question. What's next in this investigation? Spirit, what's next in Kierra? And I'm going to reshuffle. I just want one tarot card, please. What's next in Kierra Cole's investigation? Okay, this card jumped. 5 of Pentacles. I'm going to say this. I'm a lot disappointed in the fact that the Chicago Police Department suspended their investigation for lack of leads, lack of further evidence in 2020. I want to say, I can't remember exactly when in 2020, and I don't know if the pandemic had something to do with it. That could probably be a contributing factor why it was suspended, but they suspended the investigation. So that worries me because that tells me that they're not really doing anything today in December 2021 to move this investigation forward. And this confirms it with this 5 of Pentacles. This confirms it. This tells me that what's next in the investigation is folks, family, friends, people close to her colleagues, being in a sense of not knowing answers, being without their loved one, things being on the back burner. And that ties into back over here. We all have, I used to manage a caseload back when I was having my day career. And yes, things can get hectic, but suspending an investigation should be rare, and especially in a disappearance. For them to have allowed time to pass, years to pass, without actively, early on in the investigation, because cups to me represents days. Day one, ace represents the number 1. Cups represents represents the season of summer, but it also for me represents the timing of days. Day one, they had an opportunity to interview friends, people who were key and close to what was happening in the dynamics around Kierra, and they failed to do so. So as a result, the investigation will stay stale for at least 5 years. Now, this could be 5 years from the time she disappears and finally some information is unraveled, uncovered, or it could be 5 years from now. Pentacles represents the timing of years for me. Spirit, any additional insights on that? It makes me frustrated, and that was one of the things that I started finding in new and cold cases surrounding disappearances, is that I found that the inaction of the law enforcement, for whatever reason, does not help the situation, does not help the investigation. So 5 of Pentacles does not surprise me. Spirit, what's next in the investigation? What's next in the investigation? If no cards jump, thank you. I'm going to shuffle once more. Okay. Accident. What's next in the investigation? Universe. Okay. So in due time, information will come up. People made mistakes. Remember when I said earlier about it's not a conspiracy of cover up of what happened to her, but a cover up of ineffectiveness. That's going to start to be revealed and understood as new investigators start to take on and explore what may have happened. This also speaks to someone trying to convince law enforcement, convince investigators that her disappearance is related to an accident. And with the universe card, this is about something coming out, going out into the universe, going out into media for us to see and to witness. Now, like I mentioned before, 5 of Pentacles could represent the timing from 2018, October 2nd, 2018, when she first disappeared. 5 years from now, or 5 years from that date could produce some more information about her disappearance. Or it could be 5 years from when I'm recording this video, sadly. But what I'm encouraged by is that what is done in the dark will come to light. There will be clues revealed. It won't be a situation where we never find out what truly happened to her. Thankfully, when I see that universe card, how that comes about, we could look at the other cards to see how that may come about, where those clues may be, but this is about the nature of it. All right, so moving on. Why didn't Josh give a statement or really, truly cooperate with the police? And maybe he did, I just don't know. Page of Wands. I don't know. Why didn't he? Land of the trees. Thank you, Spirit. And I want to use this deck. Why didn't Josh cooperate? What was that about? And we'll keep this brief because I already know. I knew this was going to be a long reading. Greedy. He wanted to protect himself. He was embarking on a whole new journey, a new beginning. Perhaps with his woman that he had been building a life with Kiarra Smith. Kiarra, if you watch video 1, and we delve into what that is about. Land of the trees. My understanding is that he ended up moving cross country. He ended up moving from Illinois to Louisiana. When I have family in the South, and we would always travel through Louisiana, and it would always mesmerize me, the trees that I was passed through. So for him, he was like, I'm starting over. I need a new beginning. I just need to get away from this. This is my past. And greedy. I find this an interesting card. Greedy. He was greedy about the fact that he needed to start over, that he would, and when I see greedy, I see selfish. I don't see necessarily the word greedy. I see selfish. Worried about self more than anything. Worried about self-preservation more than anything else. Okay. Let's see. Will we ever get justice? And I'm going to reshuffle this. Will we ever get justice for Kiarra? Or not Kiarra. Freudian slip. Will we ever get justice for Kiarra Coles? Will evidence come up? Will we ever get justice? Will we ever get justice for her? Are there other suspects even? This is like a big question, Spirit, and I thank you for any messages you're able to give us tonight. Ten of Swords. Will we get justice, Spirit? Will we get justice for Kiarra Coles? Will there be other expeditions? Somebody needs to make a trip, because the evidence is not going to necessarily be where they are. This is interesting. Ten of Swords is telling me that, yes, justice can happen, but it will be painful. What is unearthed and what is uncovered. Guys know me, I love to deal with timing. So the swords represents the season of winter. It represents the timing of months. And if we correspond 10, it could be 10 months from now, that some very bright investigator makes an expedition and starts to deep dive into the evidence, deep dive into what's going on. There's going to be a lot of news coverage that unearths it, makes people really truly aware of Kiarra's disappearance, brings media attention, because this is the news media card, brings attention to it and sparks interest in someone being smart, going to and figuring out what really truly happened to her. Now we will get an ending. We will determine what happened to her, likely in the season of a winter, right? And the winter could also symbolize sadness. It can symbolize a sense of feeling betrayed by what we find out. Feeling betrayed. Remember this card? This card came up in video 1 about dyed hair, gray hair color. Someone who directly had a hand in Kiarra Cole's disappearance. This person is the one. Someone who likes to mess around with hair colors. Someone who maybe does this for a profession and does hair and does coloring. Or maybe they just play around with their hairstyles and hair colors. But this is the person. And so what I'm encouraged by is the expedition and news media coverage card. That through all this attention, because I think HBO, which for those who are not in America, that is a cable channel that puts out provocative but very poignant and relevant documentaries. And I believe that they just put out a documentary about missing Black women. And I sense that people are going to really be searching and trying to figure out what really happened to her, going into the woods, figuring it out. There are clues here that have been overlooked because of, I don't want to say laziness. It's not necessarily laziness as it's much so as that, let's face it, Chicago PD perhaps is overworked, and folks like to still receive their medical benefits and their salaries. They want to feel important. They want to keep their jobs, but in actuality, more funding needs to go to missing persons unit. More funding needs to happen to support families looking for their missing loved ones. So much will be revealed, but this is interesting that this came up. This person is who directly had a involvement, anger, resentment, contentment. They're like, what is it? Not contentment. Well, contentment with their situation now because they've been able to get away with what they've been able to get with. Contention. They had that towards her. Bitter betrayal is what we're going to find out. But we will find out. It's going to take some time, but we will. All right, guys. That's it. This was a long one. I'm thanking you all if you hung in this long and watched the videos, both videos. I want to thank you. Please put the word out about Kierra Coles because the more we put her name out into the world, into the algorithms, more people will take interest in the right people who are able to either have feet on the ground and go and look for clues or look for her. They will be able to do so. And news media will keep the story going because it's important. She didn't just run away. This is a woman who I sense loved her life, loved what she was creating. She was young and ready to start her own little family. She was ready to start her career. She did not run away. She was not kidnapped. She was taken, and foul play had a hand in it. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Much love to all of you. Please take good care of yourselves, and I'll see you all around in the next video. Take care. Bye.